podcast number 24.
Yeah, number 24. How's everything going? All right?
Pretty good. I guess the last one, we got a lot of positive feedback there.
Yeah. Everyone keeps growing and everybody's really enjoying them. I told you, there's people that love us that watch it, and there's people that hate us that watch it. And when you add them all together, makes your show grow.
That's right. Well, look at we keep hitting on good talking points. People are interested to know what's going on that you won't see in the minutes of City Hall, or you won't see in the newspaper, but we're putting out what we know.
Yeah, you can't expect that the City Hall minutes are going to be accurate, right? They're always going to paint the beautiful picture of what they think in their own mind is great in the city, when the reality is everything that the residents have to say when they show up at the meeting is somehow missing from that type. Huh?
They're omitted from the meeting minutes, okay? Yeah. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but we got a few things that's going on, and let's just jump right into topics of the day.
Yeah, so you know what I want to talk about, Timmy, because it's been the topic of the week. It was on the it was on the news, and it was on a couple of radio stations. And that's the Cohoes Public Library. As you know, the city has this burning desire for some reason to take a commercial building off the tax rolls in the middle of the downtown after they just won the $10 million downtown revitalization plan. And that's the money used specifically for the downtown. And they
have no takers on. Anyway.
Well, we talked about that last week. They have no takers because the city's going in the wrong direction. But anyway, they want to move the public library to the old Cohoes Savings Bank. For me, I think it's the stupidest idea ever. I think it is going to really turn the library into something that we don't want it to be, because the city is not taking care of that part of Remsen Street.
Right across from Canal Square.
Bums, drug addicts, drunks, fights, haircuts, businesses, trouble. The seniors complaining every day. It's really become an eyesore. It went from a beautiful part of the city that started the whole entire community moving in the right direction. Our plan started on that block. And today that block, which is a stone throw from the mayor's office, has become a eyesore. And now you want to spend millions of dollars and move your public library into a place where right on the side of that building, people are taking a piss and they're sleeping and they're doing drugs and there's fights, and it's just a nightmare.
And you're getting whistled over by the prostitutes.
Yeah. Timmy, it's a nightmare. And all you got to do is ask the seniors that live down there. And the sad part is there's a better opportunity, and I want to discuss that with you in a little bit. But let me just bring you up to speed on something.
Sure.
Let me just bring up this slide here, Timmy.
$1,000 grant from the state. A building has been in need of major restoration work and has been shut down for more than a year. Last July, part of its stone facade fell onto the sidewalk. The city was able to make emergency repairs, which allowed for a partial reopening in May. The grant money secured by the state senator, Neil Breslin, will pay for the building's bell tower to be fixed, along with needed masonry and roofing work.
Well, I'm just delighted. This is, to me, what we as legislators should always try to do, make it a better place. And this building will be a better place. When it's fully restored, it will be a total jewel.
The library is temporarily operating out of the Cohoes Senior Center over at 10 Cayuga Plaza.
It's actually our money anyway that they take every day from your paycheck and your property taxes and everything else, right? And so kudos to Neil Breslin, not my favorite guy, but certainly he steps up. He brings $500,000 to the city of Cohoes, right? Now, one thing that I do know is that in order to get grants, you have to go through a lot of work. And one of the things is you have to prove how much it's going to cost, who's going to do the work, how they're going to get paid. There's a lot involved when the government hands out these type of grants. So you've seen that the grant was for $500,000, right?
Yes.
Because that's what it cost with the estimates that they received to fix the bell tower.
Right.
$500,000. And they said that will go towards some additional work as well. So just a few weeks ago, we read in the newspaper from the mayor of the city how they want to move the library over to the bank, and he says, well, between the bell tower and all the grants, it's a couple $1 million, but we'd rather move to a different location and find a developer with big pockets to come in, buy up an old church that needs a couple $1 million, right?
With a
they
bell
mentioned
tower
a couple
that doesn't ring a bell anyway.
Right. But couple million, that's what they kept saying.
Right.
So just recently, the other day, Steve Napier, who is probably in the country, the most unqualified economic development guru right here in the city of Cohoes, probably in the state, maybe in the country. He couldn't qualify to even work in one of those offices. But that was a political, you don't run against me, I'll give you a job, pay your fat ass, 50, 60,000.
Yeah, he took Randy's job anyway.
Yeah, you don't have to show up for work. You can go to school and punch in and do all the things that supposedly rumor has it. I don't know if it's true, but
we have no economic development since he's been in that spot, really.
But this guy is a moron at the highest level. He has no business being there. But just take a second to listen to what he had to say.
Go ahead.
Just to be done on the bell tower was going to cost around $700,000. Pull it one thread, many things come behind it, right? So, talking to our city engineer and following his expert lead, we sort of have identified probably somewhere between $3 and $7 million in work to be done there. Some
3 to 7 million,
saying even higher than that.
And where are we going to get that money?
High ceilings
for an old church.
High pitched slate roofs.
They get on this agenda.
They're very hard to heat and cool. Also very expensive to heat and cool. The floor was not the floor. At least today, the floor has trouble holding up.
The floor can't hold up the books
that are in there.
Held his fat ass when he walked across it, didn't it?
There are a lot of issues, and then of course the issue that acutely prompted the closure.
Does anybody really use books
a couple
anymore?
of years ago was that the stone facade started to come loose, was coming off. So it became a dangerous
Timmy,
situation.
Listen, just listening to the guy, you realize he's a moron. But more importantly for us, if you like our show, do me a favor, subscribe to our channel, hit the little subscribe button, hit the bell, get updates for all of our new shows. Love to see you join. Love to have you watch. Help us grow. We'd really appreciate it. Most people who I spoke to after listening to Steve Napier had the same common comment.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Well, he's dumb on the highest level, Timmy.
Yeah, there was many people that had meetings with him. They come out of the meeting shaking their head saying, you want me to develop here? And he doesn't even have a clue of what he's doing in his own office. It's just a nightmare.
Listen, here's the point I'm trying to make, right? So they come out and say the $500,000 is what they need to fix the library, right? The government comes in and says, we're going to be the great stewards of Cohoes, and we're going to give you the $500,000. Plus, there was other monies up to, I think John McDonald told you it was almost $1 million or something, right?
He told me $2 to $3 million to repair the library.
All right. So the city gets X amount, then they have to invest X amount. That's part of the game, right?
And they're going to sell it.
Everybody's talking $2 to $3 million to fix it, with the city getting at least $1.5 million from the government, right? Yeah. And all of a sudden, Keeler has this fruition and says, hey, let's get rid of this and go pay $500,000 for a old bank that we're going to take off the tax rolls that probably needs $1 million in renovations. And basically what he does to cover his ass is he sends fat ass Napier over to the library, has the media follow him, and then he tells you, well, it's between 3 and 7 million, and some may say more than that. So what is it, Tim? Is it 3 to 7? Is it 1 to 5? Is it 1 to 2? You're never going to get the truth. You know why? Because when they want to move something, when they want to do something, they're going to lie to you to make it look like they had no choice. But they have a great choice. And you know what that great choice would be?
Community center.
Get out. There you go. Get out of that old library. Say, look, it's just a place that is expensive, but we can move our library into a state-of-the-art recreation library, reading, sports center, all wrapped up in one. A great community space in our city that somebody already put $500,000 into, and it's the Cohoes Community Center. And let's take our library and keep it close to the people that are using it, which are the seniors, because it's currently in the senior center.
There.
Put it into the community center, and now you have the state-of-the-art recreational community space, better than we've ever had before, with a fraction of the cost. If the state will allow them to use that $500,000, they can move the whole entire library over there, adjust some of the rooms so that the weight rooms are moved and the library goes into that space, figure out some maneuvering around, and you'd have a place where everybody can go. You could go there to swim. You can go there to read. You can go there to use computers. You can go there to play basketball. One-stop shop. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I tried to do. Steve Napier and his clowns on that council stopped me from doing it because you know why, Timmy?
Because it was your idea.
Yeah, and great ideas are hard to implement when it makes the other people who worked there before you look like the incompetent fools that they really are and have been. And that's why they stopped me from doing it. But, okay, it ain't me anymore. Bill Keeler, use your brains. Take that community center, save it. Kids can use it now for free because it's owned by the city. You can run your recreational programs that Danny McCoy so graciously, if it wasn't for Danny McCoy right now, no recreation. But Danny is gracious enough to bring it here, take that community center, put the karate in there, put the flag football, put the wiffle ball, everything that you need all winter long, teach free swimming lessons, teach kids how to drive, driver ed, all wrapped up into one place.
You'd have no problem getting volunteers, Shawn, to go in there and do run basketball tournaments, volleyball tournaments. There's a lot of things that you could do. Remember, they even did bingo in there.
Listen, I've been going there since I was 5 years old.
Yep.
The place is a gem. It's never really had the oomph that it needed from the community because they had a mission. Their mission was to help the poorest people have recreation. So they could not charge more than $1 or $3. Yeah. Impossible in this day and age with the economy to survive on $3 a kid, right? Yeah. But if the city bought it for $450,000, took the free money they got from the government to retrofit it so that it brought the library over there, they don't have to worry about the pool. It's already been fixed. They don't have to worry about the air conditioner's already been fixed. The heating's been fixed. The roof's been fixed.
It's city water.
Perfect. You could put your whole recreation department over there. You could probably put some offices that the city has in there. You could probably work with the county to bring some county offices in there. It is a great idea. It is the best idea that you can think of for that building and the library. Save money, better recreation. But you want to know something? We're being run by fools. And fools ain't smart enough to do the right thing. So the community center is closing, will sit vacant. The library is closing, will sit vacant. And what we'll have is two buildings dying in our city while they're spending all the money to resurrect a business on Ransom Street.
Yeah,
that is now going to be a library, when in fact it should be a business, and they should use the $10 million to entice somebody to come and make a business out of it.
Right. Yeah. And look at all that water that's in the pool. Okay, right now that's got to be maintained. If the city owned the building, okay, you wouldn't have to pay for all the water.
There's just so many reasons,
so many benefits, but they don't think outside the box, and it starts with Napier with bad ideas to save an old church.
Well, the reality is
nobody's going to put anything in there, Shawn.
First of all, we just talked about it. $10 million of free money, and not one person took an interest in coming to the city of Cohoes.
Right.
2 years ago, they would have been doing backflips. Today, they don't even want to show up. The streets are dirty. How about Canal Square Park? We did a whole show where kids have kicked holes in it, wrecked it, painted it, and the mayor can see it from his office. They just let a $3 million park that's 2 years old turn into a pigsty, just like the other parks will turn into, because nobody cares. They build things, they cut ribbons, they pound their chest. You know what happens, Tim, when you become the mayor? All of the important stuff happens behind the scenes, not when you're cutting the ribbons, not when you're pounding your chest. When you're going up there at 6 a.m. saying, this grass has to get cut. Nobody sees you do that. This garbage, pull over and let's pick up that bag of garbage. Nobody sees that. It's the little things that make a community great. The political cutting the ribbons, that's what happens. Cut the ribbons, open the park, and then it becomes a shithole. And all you have to do is drive around and look at all the places that have been resurrected that are shitholes now. And Canal Square is quickly becoming one. Now, they did a lot of work to get it up and running for the concert because thousands of people would be here.
And that's it. But
before the concerts, you and I went down there and look at it. Needles, bottles, weeds, broken instruments, all over the place. Holes in the grassy areas. Just a complete disaster, a complete wreck. And that's
right. And look at just to move on a bit like that. Okay, they do want to have an event there on September 3, which is Gents Barbershop. Now they want to use Canal Square for a drive to benefit children. They're giving free haircuts out, okay? Yeah. And so while that's a great idea, and
I think it's fantastic, Timmy. I think that is
right. What I want to touch on though is it was only, what was it, a year, 2 years ago tops, that the Johnny Morse Band with Sweet Happy Days, they wanted to do a toy drive right out of Canal Square with a free concert sponsored by Sweet Happy Days. And the mayor would not, they would approve it, but you needed about $10,000 to get EMS, police. You had to have all these other necessary things that they said you needed that are not applicable to this event going on with Gents at the same space, only right next door to the Sweet Happy Days. And this is the problem with the city. Okay, well, we're picking and choosing who can contribute and volunteer their time.
Keeler is a vindictive person, right? He's incompetent. He's vindictive. He's ruining the city. I'm telling you right now, people see it in groves. Yes. He took a career as a state trooper that was very respectable and turned himself into a clown who has ruined the city.
He's a politician, a dirty politician.
Yeah, he's ruined the city in 2 years because he's incompetent and he has no clue on what he's doing. And I know people voted for him. I know many who regret it, believe me.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? What a beautiful, beautiful gesture to cut kids' hairs. A lot of kids can't afford that. I just love the idea. What a fantastic group of people who are involved in that. And I'm so proud.
Barbershop,
That's what makes Cohoes great. It is not the government, but the people. But the government is a rotten, dirty band of brothers, right? Because you just said something and it pisses me off because my brother's been playing in this city for 40 freaking years. Mm-hmm. This girl, Happy Days, is trying to give back from her business that she started in Cohoes, which she's now left both of them.
Brentavania,
both businesses, because the city's done shit to help. And the city doesn't need to go in and run her business. They need to get the bums and the drug addicts and the problems away from her store. Yeah. But they wanted my brother to hire police, hire firefighters, get an ambulance, stuff that they don't have a right to do because the charter tells you. Matter of fact, I almost wish they'd get a lawyer and go after this bastard now and say, we're going to sue you because you treated us different. You wouldn't let us raise money to give poor kids toys because you don't like my brother.
Right. And the bottom line is that, for Gents there, what they're doing, I hope there's other barbers that would join in.
Yeah, me too. I think they're just great people.
City. All barbers,
the city's got
come
so
over to
many.
Canal Square on the 3rd of September there. Join in and give the free haircuts for the kids.
The city has
the two policies really show how vindictive this administration is towards certain people.
Well, why do you think nobody wants to do business here?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If you're trying to open a Spades Lounge, they throw you out. But if you're related to Keeler or you're friends with Steve or something, then you have no problem. You walk right in, right? This is a great example. You have 2-3 great organizations of people that want to do stuff for our kids. 2 of them are told, see you
Take
later
a
for this
hike.
bullshit, phony, this is the policy.
Right.
And then another organization who I am so proud of and happy that they're doing it gets the chance to do it. Can you imagine if both of them or all 3 of them could have done something nice?
And we got the park.
Toys, haircuts, all the
these
nice
things.
stuff.
Do something with the community center so the kids have a place to go.
But what kind of person do you have to be to turn away the opportunity to
help kids,
provide Christmas for the poorest kids in the community?
To help the kids in Cohoes.
Because you don't like somebody's brother.
Well, keep in mind, keep in mind with Killer, okay, he would not support the girls, Girl Scouts for their 100-year anniversary.
He got embarrassed into it.
Right, until we shamed him into showing on up. And then suddenly now he's a big supporter, okay?
Yeah,
this is it's about his image and politics only and how everybody sees him.
He's an athletic supporter.
Right. And look, even at the when we talked earlier about the minutes, okay, conveniently omitted from the minutes of the last council meeting where Killer says, hey, if you feel unsafe in Cohoes, move. His remarks are not in the minutes, but they'll go ahead and they'll post Sean Van Sleet's comments in there and saying, hey, my wife feels unsafe walking the street in our neighborhood. Well, if you feel unsafe, move. That's Killer. It's not in the minutes, but it happened. And people should know that. That's his attitude.
Timmy, I got to be honest with you. You know, I still talk with a lot of people. And the amount of people who have said to me, man, this guy is running the city. And these are people that didn't even vote for me. There's just some people that don't even like me. Yeah. But they said, this is just horrible. Or I'll be overhearing it. Or sometimes they say it directly to me. Everybody sees it.
Yeah.
Everybody sees it. The streets are dirty. The weeds are growing everywhere. The parks are filthy.
No economic development.
No economic development. Businesses are leaving. This is just a few short years ago, Tim. You know what our biggest dilemma was? Where were we going to get parking? Because Ransom Street, Monday through Sunday, was mobbed.
Yeah.
Now you can go down there and roll a bowling ball.
Yeah.
You know, Smith's is doing well. I think Smith's will overspill into some of the other places, but it ain't happening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's sporadic. I've gone to Smith's where you can't move. I've gone across the street where the overflow ends up. It's good for business, but you need that every day for businesses to succeed. There's not a lot of money in food, right? I go by Donnie Magoo's. It's very quiet. I go by his restaurant. It's very quiet.
Even his deck on the roof isn't. Nobody's basking on his deck on the roof.
Yeah.
Okay, which is still there.
But the city needs to realize that it has an obligation to do things to draw people to the city. That's how they help the businesses. They draw people. They get people here. They promote. They advertise. They continue to push different programs so more people will come. It's dead. You don't hear nothing from this guy. He's silent.
Mm-hmm.
He's silent. The only thing that you hear from him is that if he doesn't like you, he turns down your permits to raise money to buy toys for poor kids in the park, which is a sad thing. Do you know that they still haven't put up the Wall of Fame?
They still haven't done that. He goes to
an vindictive prick. That's why.
Right. And he goes to, him and Chief Walden go to a gun violence conference with Hochul. And then less than a month later, we have a shootout on Main Street. Okay. Look at that. That wasn't just a shooting. That was all-out warfare down there, Sean.
As you know,
24 rounds, and I think there's a second suspect now.
Yeah.
But 24 rounds isn't a shooting. That's a damn firefight.
Well, it certainly is. And as you know, they just publicized that there is a second shooter. At least it appears that way. But it's really confusing because the media reported it too. You know, there's either another person that's been arrested, but they won't say his name. Nobody can get any information. I don't know if it's because he's a minor. I don't know what it would be. But if there's another murderer on the streets, the city should know about it.
Yeah, we should.
I mean, I just think it's only right. Now, granted, they may have him in custody, but, there's
we don't know.
Right, we don't know. We don't know nothing about the second murder. So I'm not sure what the hell's going on with that. The city hasn't said much. I haven't heard nothing from the county. The news has been quiet. But, you know, our city, and I'll say it 100,000 times, is 4 square miles. And 4 square miles, you should be able to fix 90% of the problems by just being proactive, Timmy. Yeah. You can stop youth violence by being proactive. You can stop cars from getting broken in and stolen, which is on Facebook every night, by being proactive. You can stop people from stealing packages off people's porches by being proactive. Cops riding around in the car are nice. Cops walking around the neighborhood are scary. And they're scary for bad people because they're afraid to get caught.
Yeah.
And we don't have cops walking in the bad sections. We don't have no plan. We had a plan. It was called the Safe Streets Initiative. And all you have to do is look up all the police stats and look up all of the things that were said about it. See how Main Street and Congress Street and White Street almost had no crime going on. See how we pushed all of the bad people off Ransom Street, got rid of all the bad landlords. It was a group of people. We had a task force, code enforcement, police, engineering, whatever we had to do within the rights that we had to push bad people out, we did. And soon Ransom Street was filled with new development, millions of dollars of development, higher end apartments with people who could spend money to help support businesses. Businesses started flourishing. And guess what? Guess what? Now even Ransom Street is starting to see vagrants, and people are now forced to rent their apartments cheaper to people that don't have disposable income. It's all starting to collapse. Yeah. Because they're going backwards, because they don't have a plan and they don't understand how to run a city. And they're relying on all of the same people that were there for years when they got run into the ground. Some of them are good people, but sometimes time passes you by. Sometimes you haven't been involved in enough stuff to understand how to do things, right? If I said to you, Timmy, I want you to go fight a grievance for a union, you'd be like, I know what you're supposed to do, but I don't know how to do it. That's because you never did it. But I've done it 10,000 times, so I can tell you how to do it, right? If I told you to go rebuild the downtown, you'd be like, I'm not so sure. I can vision it in my mind, but how do I get it done? Well, I can get it done because we did it, and I was part of it, and Cohoes is proof of that.
Right. You got Napier has no clue what's going on. And look at, even getting into the public safety, okay? Adam Biggs, who's the chair of public safety, he hasn't had a public safety meeting since April 18th, okay? And look at all the things that have happened since then. All right. Okay. No public safety meeting. He's a chair. He sits there quietly when the mayor turns around and tells someone, if you feel unsafe, move. Doesn't even rebuke him and say, hey, you can't say that. I mean, Timmy, this is what's going on.
If you want to look at the difference between a politician and an elected advocate.
Yeah.
Is as wide as the Grand Canyon. The politician shuts his mouth, raises his hand, votes for the person in charge, and never says a word to help the residents. The elected advocate,
about Alicio?
Talking about all of them.
Yeah.
And the elected advocate fights for the people and does not care about being buddies with a politician. I'm not hanging out with these people. These are not people I would even want to have a drink with, for Christ's sake. There were some of them in the legislature I really loved, but for the majority of them, I wouldn't even want to get caught hanging out with them, right? And they're just people that have nothing in common with me, because I would fight for the little guy. I would fight for the people. I would fight the system that is often broken. Government freaks up more than it ever fixes. So if you don't fight against the system that's always screwing things up, they just continue to get worse.
So look at on top of that, okay, so I go to a ethics board hearing, and what happens to me during that meeting, okay, a member on the ethics board, Debbie Gilchrist, spins around in her chair, calls me a jerk. Twice.
Maybe you are a jerk.
Oh, yeah. I'm a jerk, okay.
There may be many that would spin around in the chair and call you a jerk.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've been called a lot worse than that. All right. But she did it, and she's a representative of the city, okay, ethics board. She did that. and then told me to get out of the room. So I filed a complaint with Adam Biggs and say, hey, you can't do this to people. And what's he do with it? Nothing. He brings it to McCarthy. What's McCarthy do? Nothing. Don Russell gets away with everything he gets away with because these people don't hold themselves accountable. There's no policing. And this is why people in the city are also frustrated. Okay, it's rules for thee, but not for me, and stuff like that.
Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of sheep in the world.
Yeah.
Right? And a majority of those people go into politics. You know why? Because they want to feel powerful, when in fact they're a bunch of cowards. See, Tim, when I was a young kid, if you wanted to throw down, believe me, I'm throwing down with you, right? Didn't matter how big you were, how tough you were, how many rumors went around about how many people you beat up. If you threw at me, brother, you better be ready because I'm throwing back, right? That's what you need in government. You need people to say, I'm fighting against the injustices, like having you spend $88,000 a month to put an ambulance in that takes 2 hours to show up. I'm fighting against you because I think this is wrong. That doesn't mean that your job is to fight all the time, because I would agree 95% of the time, right? Because we're all on the same page most of the time. But there's 5% of the time when you got to say, whoa, not so fast, my friend. I'm not selling out my morals for your political stupid decisions. Sometimes I used to say, I'll give you my, I'll throw in my opinion, and it doesn't really matter. It's just my opinion. If you want the wall to be painted black and I want it red because I think red's better, and the majority says, let's go black, I'll go with you. But if you want to close down the Albany County nursing home and displace all of the poorest, frailest, oldest people with no money, bullshit. I'm fighting you to the end. And I did that many times. And in the city government here, we have a bunch of puppets.
Yeah.
Adam Biggs, in my understanding, should be having an alternative to the ambulance this month.
In September, and he hasn't met on that since June 27th. Okay,
right. So what's the chances?
And everybody on that task force are frustrated because all they do sit around, talk about the same thing, and they don't get anything done. And he's going to come up with a failure come September.
I told you from the very beginning that the task force was a waste of time.
It was going to be fail anyway.
Because the mayor is going to make the final decisions. He is a moron who's not willing to bend on anything. And 95% of the decisions he's made so far are about as smart as the Columbia Street little water catchers that have sent the mulch all the way down to Bedford Street every time it rains.
Yeah, down there.
Just stupid.
Yeah.
These are dumb.
What? He is. And, Keeler, I'll sum him up this way. Because he's a power-hungry guy, okay? Keeler would burn the city down to ashes just to rule over the ashes, okay?
Yeah, you're right.
And that's what he would do.
Just remember, man, when you're walking down the street, a man who holds his head up high and looks to the skies looking for hope. The guy that looks at his feet is a coward. And the guy that looks straight ahead has courage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every time you see Keeler walking, he'll be looking at his feet.
He's always looking down, doesn't smile, cold.
What he needs to do is look ahead, straight ahead. Have courage. Recognize that if you're going to be a great leader of our city, and I'm sure he has the talent to do it, he's got to stop catering to all of the people who pull his strings.
Mm-hmm. But
unfortunately, he is a state trooper who's had his strings pulled his whole life.
Yeah.
Maybe not by the little people that he looks down upon, but the bigger people. Just, they use him like this as a string for the puppet. He's been a puppet.
Right. I mean, look at it. He ragged on you for taking out bonds, $2 to $3 million bonds.
He said that I sold out.
He's up to $8 million in bonds now.
He said I sold out the kids' futures because I put in brand new sidewalks. And guess what they did? They just took my second phases and my ideas that we had planned for, the next venture, and they just used the same plans. And even when you look at the $10 million, they basically used the same plan that we put forward. Mm-hmm. Politics is stupid and people are gullible. And I was at a bad place in my life and a bad time in my life. And I could care less at that moment about everybody else and their problems. But through the grace of God, who's my savior and has got me through some of the worst times of my life, I now can sit back in a better place with some passion and some caring again for the city that I once just didn't care about, and realize how fast it's going down the tubes, how bad it's becoming.
Very quickly,
And even I have said to my family, maybe it's time to sell our house. I've been here for 56 years and I don't know anything else other than Cohoes. I don't love anything other than Cohoes. I don't know how to live anywhere other than Cohoes. But maybe it's time for me to sell my house and move away. And that's really on our mind. And I think it's on the mind of a lot of people.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Sad. It's kind of sad.
I hear that a lot from a lot of people.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had hopes for Keeler because, he wore a state trooper uniform. But when he took that off.
Uniform doesn't make it.
Yeah, when he took that off, he looked like, with his decisions that he really is a lost soul, having no clue on what to do. And
started right off the bat with his appointment in Napier.
Well, it showed you right there that that appointment was more about his political future than the interest of the city. And they can say, "Oh, look what we've done." What have they done?
Well, Gil said it was masterful.
Yeah, it's masterful.
Masterful for him to get Napier to drop out, become economic director, so Keeler could be mayor.
Well, it is. It's masterful. It's masterful if your job is to be a political goon. It's not masterful if your job is to rebuild a city.
No, and we got the opposite. Okay,
and we have it in a lot of different places.
Right.
Unfortunately, I can only go back to this when I think about the things Keeler has done.
Yeah, well,
you're so dumb. You are really dumb, for real.
We're missing it's a volcano.
Hey, Timmy, look, it was great to talk to you. I'm glad we were able to talk about a few things. I'm disappointed in the library. I think the community center is the place to be, but these clowns ain't going to do it, and it's not their idea, so they don't have. I learned a lot during my times of trouble and trials and tribulations, and what I learned is that forgiveness is for the attribute of the strongest people, not the weakest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And having the courage to do things of your own conviction, even if they're not your ideas, only belongs to the strong. He fails to be strong because he turns away a lot of great things because it wasn't his idea.
Yeah.
And in the end, the city has taken the hit for that. And I don't see it getting any better. Right. So I'm going to hang up with you now, and I'm going to go on Google and keep looking for real estate in Florida.
Yeah. Well, look at
after the hurricane.
Right after the hurricane, there's probably going to be a lot of real estate.
Tell me, I'll tell you what, I'd rather live through a hurricane than watch this shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Okie doke.
Good to see you, Timmy.
Okay, we'll see you till next week, number 25, but this is 24 up and